hello, and a very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch, a show that gives you all the latest news and updates from the digital ecosystem. I'm Priya Sheth. Thank you so much for logging in. Time now to get you all the top stories that we've been tracking for you this evening. Well, investment firm TPG's Rise Fund will be investing $200 million into Airtel Africa's mobile money business, that's Airtel Mobile Commerce BV, at a valuation of $2.65 billion. Now, Rise Fund is estimated to get 7.5% stake in Airtel Mobile Commerce BV, which is currently the holding company of several of Airtel Africa's mobile money operations. Well, moving on to the second headline of the day, the initial public offering of Indian gaming company Nazara Technologies has received a strong response from institutional as well as retail investors. On the second day of the IPO, the issue has been subscribed about 10.6 times, with a retail portion being subscribed over 44 times. Now, the Nazara IPO is entirely an offer for sale, where the company is planning to raise about 583 crore rupees through the public issue. Well, Policy Bazaar has raised $75 million in funding led by US-based Falcon Edge Capital. Now, the company will be deploying this capital to expand services in UAE and West Asia. Now, the firm plans to build motor, health and life insurance product categories in the UAE region. Well, moving on to the final headline of the day, direct-to-consumer fashion brand Bewakoof has raised about $4 million in funding from Ivy Cap Ventures. The company intends to invest the funds into superior customer experience, technology, as well as newer product categories as it prepares for the next phase of growth. Now, the fresh proceeds will help the company in its growth journey towards a 1,000 crore company by FY24.
Well, moving on to our second segment, I have with me someone who has, made very good business during this lockdown and specifically amid this pandemic. I have with me Mr. Gulshan Bakhtiani from Wellness Forever. Many thanks for being a part of Daily Dispatch. I want to begin by asking you how much in demand or how good has business been amid this pandemic for Wellness Forever?
It wouldn't be fair to say that business has been good. It's just that a good opportunity to service the clientele, the masses that we always wanted to do. So, from a gross business viewpoint commercially, we are not as badly affected as many other businesses. The immunity boosters and many other things treating COVID have been doing quite well. But just that people have not been having planned surgeries or, they've been postponing pregnancies and general tendency to go to clinics has been lower. So that has been having its own effect as well.
Right. I do understand that in the last year, amid this lockdown, you also raised some funds. And perhaps that's going to be helping you to expand further. So give us some idea in terms of how much money has been raised so far and what the funds are going to be utilized for.
During pandemic, we all found ourselves in uncharted waters and digitization and, medical infrastructure, raising of medical infrastructure, was opening floodgates of opportunities for us. And more importantly, the whole way the health is managed is, the concept itself is changing. That means today, people think that the whole healthcare cycle starts when you fall ill, and the whole journey from illness to not being well, to being free of illness was considered healthcare, which is now getting redefined. So preemptive care, preventive care or predictive care, or diagnostic care is something, all happens when you are free from a disease. And even when you know that you are free from a disease, then, being a best version of yourself, demanding more from nutraceuticals, herbaceuticals, sports medicines, a better outcome from your body. These are things are also which are going to define the whole domain of healthcare. So we at Wellness realize that the whole ecosystem around us is changing, and the whole the definition of health itself is changing, and hence the opportunity. So we wanted to be prepared before anybody else, and our group of investors who are our existing investors who invested in us about 5 years ago, they have been very kind enough, to further consolidate their faith in us. And so we raised about 140 crore Indian rupees. And how the money is going to be used is, as you know, the digitization is the name of the game. So the building the huge digital stack, converting the operations into omni-channel hyperlocal, making sure that investing into hyperlocal warehouses, omni-channel warehouses, and more importantly, rapidly increasing our footprint. So let's say pre-pandemic, if we were planning to grow at the rate of, let's say, 25% year on year, that now really looks at, God willing, about 100% year on year. So we really are seeing an opportunity where people are going to have a branded pharmacy which they can trust, and a community day and night pharmacy is going to become rather an infrastructural asset of the community more than being yet another retailer.
In terms of absolute numbers and in terms of expansion of footprint, how many pharmacies would are you looking to expand to by 2022? Is there a roadmap that you're working with in terms of how much you have right now and how many pharmacies you're going to be expanding into?
This year, we will March end, we will be floating with about 230 pharmacies. Going forward, the immediate next year, we have plans to open 220 pharmacies more, which is about 100% growth on our existing strength. About 50% of those pharmacies, the growth will come from our own COCO pharmacies, which is company-owned, company-operated. Currently, most of our pharmacies are company-owned, company-operated. Here, about 50%, so about 100 plus pharmacies will be a franchisee-driven pharmacies.
Are there specific categories where you've seen an exponential growth? And if you could identify which top 2 or 3 categories would these be?
If you generally see the last 8 to 9 months, which are like predominantly, COVID and not a normal kind of era where, pandemic-related products from IR thermometers to, point-of-care devices like oximeters and sanitizers, masks, and the huge plethora of immunity-boosting products, and something which is preemptive care, those are the product, vitamins, minerals, vitamin C, zinc. They become like, household names. We are only assuming that, people see better that these are not only pandemic time products, but they're good for them. Do some research, do some study about themselves, and maybe continue to use the products that are good for them, pandemic or not, no pandemic, because your immunity boosting should be generally good, irrespective of whether you are in the pandemic era or non-pandemic era. So those are the products that have generally done very, very well. Chronic medicines like hypertension, diabetes, renal care. So are the products, which obviously they do not have a season, but obviously people wanted to be, storing these medicines, such that in any eventuality they don't run out of it. So those are the categories they have done very well. Anti-infectives, anti-cough expectorants, cold products are a particular category that have not done well. Okay, I'm sure people eating a lot of immunoboosters are not coughing or sneezing, or maybe you must have also seen. Generally, people are sneezing and coughing much lower than what it used to be, in so many preceding years. So those products, anti-infectives in particular, are seeing a downtrend.
You said that 220 pharmacies is the kind of expansion plan that you're working with. Going forward, what kind of strategy do you think will drive growth, considering that the past trends that you've seen have been primarily pandemic related?
Increased sensitivity towards taking care of yourself, the whole expansion of health as a domain. The one thing that I was telling you earlier. And many people who have been kind of deferring either planned surgeries or pregnancies or, many of the, they've been quietly, if I may use the word, suffering and not been really going to clinics. So, as things become little more normal or, reach, I see a huge kind of a deluge of such kind of patients, and so that is primarily going to drive, if I may use the next 6 to 9 months.
In terms of overall revenues, if you could help us with, what kind of revenues are you targeting going forward over the next 1 to 2 years?
So 2 years. So next year we are planning a revenue of around 1,350 crores odd, and in the year next that, which is FY23, in the vicinity of 16 to 1,700 crores.
terms of this kind of aggressive expansion will also need funds. Do you think that there's another round of funding that you would perhaps look at, considering that there is an aggressive plan, and in terms of revenues also you all have aggressive growth plans?
For any growing company, funds is going to be a continuous requirement. So is the case for Wellness Forever. Not only for our expansion, but in an era today, we are in a very dynamic world. So, who can acquire whom, whether there is a strategic, or whether we acquire somebody, or whether there are opportunities, because the entire health scenario is integrating. So diagnostics, pharmacies, healthcare, they're all, kind of consolidating or kind of merging, So those opportunities are also, we are like very actively looking out for. So obviously we do look forward. We do see a need for raise of funds, either through a private equity mode or maybe, God willing, through an IPO.
So an IPO can be expected, and what kind of timeline are you looking at for an IPO then?
In the interest of the organization, and so we believe that any time in the next 2 years, depending on whether the opportunity available is tactical, strategic, or the amount of funds that are required, and what's the appetite of the private equity funds at that time. In the next 2 years, I believe that there'll definitely be a point where we would be looking at raising funds, and if it is IPO, then so be it.
A final question before I let you go. In terms of adjacencies, are there any specific adjacencies that you have planned in mind according to the kind of growth and expansion that you're seeing at your pharmacy chain?
There are a lot of adjacencies. Though we would always want to be a pharmacy, we are seeing that a healthcare company is what we are transforming into. And all of us have today realized that food and medicine has a very thin line, So most of the things, be it chips or colas or ice creams or maybe a grocery, everything that we are going to consume, either in the form of food, is going to be fortified, is going to be medicated, aloe vera being the best example. Okay, so we are seeing that huge range of food as a medicine is going to grow. Point of care devices, so where you can diagnose things at home, is the pharmacies are going to be at the forerunners, in selling those products. Besides, the preventive care, the whole range of sports medicine, the nutraceuticals, the dermocosmetics, all those things are area which can be called as preventive healthcare or progressive healthcare rather than disease care or a disease management. These are the adjacencies we are very actively working towards.
All right, Mr. Bhaktiani, many thanks for joining us today. I've had two very interesting takeaways. One is, of course, an IPO, and second, of course, is that you're open to making acquisitions in the pharma market. So thank you very much, and we wish you all the very best for your future.
Thank you very much, madam, for having me here on the show. Thank you.
Well, time now to say goodbye. Many thanks for joining us on this edition of Daily Dispatch. I'll see you now on Monday at 5 p.m. Stay safe and have a lovely weekend.